Not everyone gets a smash hit on their first try. It's pretty common for bands to spend a couple albums honing their craft before they really break out. But 8 albums? That's a bit rare. But that's the way it went for Dutch rockers Golden Earring. They were quite happy enjoying their careers in the Netherlands, where they were pretty successful. And then out of the blue, they went global, 12 years into their career. Today we're looking at the story behind Radar Love, where it came from and where it went.
We've got a wave in the air. Radar Love.
It's a classic, isn't it? It's a brilliant, brilliant song. But I wonder how many other songs by Golden Earring you can name. It's a strange one, isn't it? You'd be forgiven for thinking they were a one-hit wonder. Except that's not totally true. So let's do the backstory first. Golden Earring were formed in 1961, initially called the Tornadoes. They changed their name to the Golden Earrings and then shortened it to Golden Earring by the end of the 60s. The lineup we'd be most familiar with was, and I apologise in advance because I'm going to butcher these pronunciations, Rinus Gerritsen on bass, keys and occasional other instruments, George Jan Koemans on lead guitar and backing vocals, Cesar Zuiderwijk on drums and other percussion, and Barry Hay on lead vocals and the odd instrument. Hopefully I got away with those pronunciations, let me know how I did in the comments below. All of them were really multi-instrumentalists and would often swap instruments during songwriting and recording. It was really a group effort. Now you're probably wondering, Dutch guys, but Radar Love sounds so American.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel.
Well, there's a good reason for that, because Barry Hay was born in India to an Indian father and Dutch mother and grew up mostly in the Netherlands attending an international school. So he ended up with something very close to an American accent, which is very common for students of international schools. So it's not just a convincing American accent, that's really his accent.
And it's 4:30 and I'm shifting gear.
Anyway, they started out as teenagers playing instrumental surf rock and roll covers in dance halls and small venues like that in their local area. As they built up a fan base, they started experimenting with their own sound and original material. When they released their first single, Please Go, in 1965, it was a hit, breaking the top 10 at home.
Go. With the tears come from my eyes.
And they quickly followed it up with their first album, Just Earrings, that same year. This one didn't chart though, but they got solid radio playtime and a solid live following. They were a national act at this point. In 1967, they changed things up a bit with a new singer, Barry Hay, who of course is the voice you hear on Radar Love. Don't worry, I'm getting there. Hay brought a more commanding stage presence and that radio-friendly accent that would of course help them later on. After 1967, they also evolved into a more hard rock sound, which went down a storm.
It's always good to be back home.
Bit of a change from their early stuff. And then came Radar Love. And just before we get into it, if you enjoy my channel and want to support me even more, you can do so on my Patreon. It's patreon.com/musicmongoose. Cheers. Right, history lesson over. Let's get to Radar Love. They wrote it in 1973 and knew they had something special on their hands. They'd recently swapped record labels and been given a big push. We signed up with Track Records, the label of The Who, and they really put an effort into it because they had a sort of monkey wrench. If they could put us together on tour in Europe, they could put us together in Madison Square Garden. So we're sort of the sons of The Who. But they needed a big song to take out with them. Something new, something to stand out. And as these things sometimes do, it almost wrote itself. Lead guitarist George Koemans was messing around with something new and the band decided to see where it would go. Hay had the idea of playing that melody on bass and having a call and response thing going on with the guitar.
Driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel.
And then the rest of the band piled in. And then it sort of grew. It happened that night when we were in the studio. It just manifested itself. All the instrumental pieces came. Our bass player came up with the intro, which is pretty much the same sort of thing that comes in after the drum part. It just happened. That's the way things go sometimes. It was spur of the moment. The band took a very democratic, no bad ideas approach and filled it out with a horn section. Before they knew it, they had a full song on their hands, and a good one at that. But not a scrap of lyrics yet. That was Hayes' job, and at first, he wasn't sure how to do the song justice. And then he took inspiration from something a bit left field. Extrasensory perception. Contact with the other side. I was listening to the music on the side, and the story just took wings. I remember in those days, I was really interested in ESP. I read some about it, and that sort of crawled in. Like there's an accident, but these people still have ESP. They still have contact in a way, which is sort of a magical thing, out of the ordinary from your run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-road lyric. It's a bit obscure, but it did the trick. Let's be honest, most of the best songs through the years have had lyrics with strange inspirations. That's what makes rock more interesting. Radar Love tells the story of a man speeding through the night to meet his lover, with whom he shares this sort of telepathic link.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head that drives my heel. It's my baby calling, says I need you here. And it's 4:30 and I'm shifting gear. When she is lonely and the longing gets too much, she sends a cable coming in from above. Don't need a phone at all.
But some people, and I am definitely included in this, missed the sad ending of the song. But Hay has confirmed that at the end of the song, the main character crashes and dies.
And the newsman sang his same song. Oh, one more radar lover gone!
The guy actually dies, that's the gist of the whole thing. In a way, she still has contact with him. There is an afterlife. They dropped it in the Netherlands in August 1973 and it smashed to number 1. And then something unexpected happened. It charted in the UK. It hit number 13 upon release and then number 7 in early 74. So they decided to release it in America. And it went off. All of a sudden, Radar Love was global. Top 20 in the US and top 10 across the UK, Europe, Canada, even Australia. So if it was such a hit and so great, why did they sort of fade away afterwards? Well, to be honest, they were almost victims of their own success. It's not like they went anywhere after Radar Love, they kept on releasing albums, good ones too, and they kept up world tours for at least a decade. But Radar Love was so good that they were never really going to be able to top it. It's not that their later songs weren't great, but they just weren't as big as Radar Love. So the idea that they disappeared after Radar Love is a bit of an illusion. They did actually manage another US hit through the song Twilight Zone in 1982. But in music, 9 years might as well be 90 years. The global attention had wandered elsewhere. It wasn't all doom and gloom for Golden Earring though. They still enjoyed popularity in their homeland and Europe, particularly in Germany, right up until 2021 when they stopped playing due to George Kooijman's sickness and sadly his death earlier in 2025. And this all reminds me of another globally massive song from an unlikely band. Remember The Final Countdown by Europe? I've done a video about that song too, you can watch it over there.